Hello and welcome to this short presentation on helping your child to read. So during this period of COVID-19, when you're at home with your child, it might be a good time for you to spend that quality time helping your child with those building blocks to enable them to read. Okay, so I'm going to hopefully answer a couple of questions, and that is A, what is the process of reading? B, how can I engage my child in that process? C, how can they be successful? So hopefully within a couple of weeks, we should see success. We're talking really, this course and this PowerPoint is mainly aimed at mainly the children in reception, year one, or children who are very significantly behind, those children with those special needs. So I'm going to talk you through the course. And then if there's any questions, there is an email at the end of this presentation. Okay, so your child needs to be able to say all of the sounds of the alphabet. Now, we teach phonetically in school a lot now. So it's about teaching your child to say the pure sounds. Now, on the PowerPoint, there is a list of letters that we would teach the children in that sort of order. We always start with the easier sounds to manipulate, and that are the sounds sat, pin. So, for example, you would possibly use lots of multisensory resources that you've got in the home. For example, things that beginning with, let's say we were looking at the letter S. So I would maybe gather things around the house that start with S. So maybe shell, picture of the sea, sand, anything really. It doesn't have to be physical. If it is physical, that's even better. But if not, pictures of things will do. It may be good as well to have pictures of things that don't begin with that sound, so that when you're looking at deciphering what is the S sound, there may be a picture of a pig or something like that. Does that begin with S? Why not? What does pig begin with? It begins with P. Okay, so that's not the S sound. Then what I would do is, obviously, along with that reading process, I would draw the sound. I would say the sound as I'm drawing that sound. I would use sand, I would use paint, I would use lots of different things. Okay. What I do as a multisensory teacher is I create cards. So what I would do is create something like this. So very simple cards, help your child to draw the card. It doesn't have to be laminated if you're using it at home. Could be if you're using it on a daily basis so it lasts longer. So this, for example, is the letter L. So what I would do is do the lower case letter in the middle, and then I would do the capital letter on the left-hand side of the card so that they get used to the two. And then on the reverse of the card, I would get your child to draw things that he or she associates with the letter L, with the sound L. Now, it's better to come from them. So in this case, the child has drawn a lamb and a lorry. So get them to draw the pictures. Obviously, at this stage, they won't be able to write out the whole word, so you could do that for them, or just draw the pictures. So, for example, we've got the lowercase letter in the middle and the capital letter at the side there, and then on the back the child again has to think of pictures and drawings. Now this was actually a student that was a little bit older, so you can see the pictures. Actually, she was very good at drawing of a horse and honey. Now be very careful when you're doing the sounds that we don't extend the sound. A lot of parents would say B for ball. No, it's B, B. And we call that the pure sounds, because we don't want to elongate the sounds, because then it makes it more difficult to blend sounds together. Okay, so go through the sounds on the looking back at the PowerPoint in the order that I have suggested. There are lots of websites out there which will give you suggestions as well as to the order of learning those sounds. But what I would certainly do is make the child create those cards. And then what you can do is every day rehearse the card with the child, get them to say the sound like, and then on the back for horse or honey. So by the end of it, they should have all of the letters of the alphabet. Now, it's really good practice for children to rehearse those every day so that they become more fluent, so that when they see that sound, they automatically know what that sound is, and that will build into their fluency. So it's really good to try and do 10 minutes every day going through all of those sound cards. I'll just show you a pack here that a child created, and then every day you would hope that that child would go through and build up the fluency. Now this pack will get bigger, and the child will extend to things like the sound sh and f, but we will come to that in our next presentation. Okay, so that's our first building block to reading. So once your child can say most of the sounds of the alphabet, what we've got to now do is to try and put them together. So we've got to try and, what we say, blend the sounds together. If they know the sound I and T, we can go it, it. The word is it. An. So what we're doing is we're pushing those sounds together to make a word. And this is when children start to click, those sounds make that word, and that word is in that story. Now, what I would suggest is that you do start with things that are vowel consonant, because this would be the easiest way to start to read. And then you would start to move on to 3 sounds like n, et, net. Okay. Now, I'm just going to stop sharing the screen, and I'm going to show you couple of tricks on what you could do to blend sounds. So okay, so there are a couple of ways to do it. I've got 3 pieces of string here, and they could represent a sound. So for example, if we've got the word net, we could say n, so did you see how I didn't go n, et? Because that is leaving a pause between each of those sounds. What we want to do is to build in the continuity. And this is where children get really stuck. So you often see children sounding out in a book like n, et, not. And then they guess the word because they haven't blended, they haven't made that word succinct, and they haven't sometimes got the memory capacity to do that. So you've got to try and make it fluid. So like cap. Now I've just got a couple of letters up on the wall, and what I thought I could show you is, you can do this with magnetic letters at home, is by moving those sounds together as well. They can visually see, they should be together. So for example, okay, so what we could do with blending is take magnetic letters, big letters, wooden letters, anything, and start with your first sound. And as you're saying the sound, you could be moving it towards the next sound. So we go on. The word is on. And then the same for our CVC words. So we've got and again, it's that movement towards blending and putting them together. So I'm just showing you here with big letters. So I'm just going to pull them off. So we've go we move them nearer. Cap. Okay, and that's just one example, but like I said before, we could use those magnetic letters as well on a fridge or something like that. Okay. So we've talked about the blending, how important this is in the process of reading. Like I've just said, blending is the key to successful reading. Use the visuals, move the magnetic letters together, use the piece of string, and get your child to increase the pace at which they say the sound. So it's about thinking at how quickly can we read those sounds? How quickly can we piece that together? Because fluency is really essential in this. If we're continually sounding out sounds, we will not gain fluency, and it will be a very difficult process to read. Again, we've talked about magnetic letters. Have a go, play with them on the fridge, anywhere. Okay, so once we have mastered the fluency of the CVC words, then you can move on to longer words with 4 to 5 sounds in. So we're talking about those CCVC words like frog. So again, segmenting it into frog. What does it make? What's the word? Frog. And it's really important to get them to say that word afterwards. So whilst we're teaching the child to learn the phonemes and the sounds, and we've got our card system in place, and we're in the blending process and we're practicing it every day, then what you need to do is insert a couple of high frequency words into that learning system. So I would do 2 or 3 high frequency words a week, because what we need to do is to make sure that they've got phonic reading ability, as well as that instantly recognizing those high frequency words. Some of these high frequency words are very difficult to read. For example, was. You know, children would expect to see WOS. It's just one of these tricky words that we just have to learn. We call that learning by sight. So best way to do this is through games. So there are things that you could play games in the house. You could make the word, for example, was, and hide it around the house, and the child has to find it. And when they find it, they say was, bring it over. You could also put some other words that they might have learnt previously. Is that was? What word is it? There are some lovely games out there through Smart Kids. Let me just see if I can show you it. There we go. So these games have the first high frequency words in, and the child will have fun moving around the board, throwing a dice, and being able to read that word. Okay. There are other things that you could do. You can make cards. Again, I'm going to show you that in a minute. For example, the word said. Again, when people are reading or spelling, they would expect it to be S-E-D, said. So we encourage children to make acronyms of the words if they're trying to spell it, or if they know that they could do a picture like Sally Ann is dancing on the back of a card, and they can see that and they realise those letters are in that word, it will be easier for them to read it. So children have made cards. For example, this student made friend till the end, because the word friend has end in it, and what they've done is done a picture on the back to help them remember that. Okay, so I'm just going to go back. So again, other things that you can do to help remember these high frequency words, and it's really simple, is just to maybe chalk them, do big words on the pavements outside, paint them, put sparkles in them, make them as fun and fantastic as possible, and then maybe put them up. So it's a daily reminder of, what's that word? Oh, that's the word was. Okay, and it is a gradual process with the high frequency words, but just trying to slip in a few every day is fantastic. Okay. So we've just looked at those ways to help us try and remember those high frequency words. And this is just, it's an old worksheet really of the first high frequency words, but these actually don't change a lot. And I would go down the column first with the and, to, said, in, he. If we can nail these words out of the first 100 high frequency words, we're on a really good sort of way forward in reading, because I think 25% of the high frequency words, 100 high frequency words, are in all texts. Okay, so it's really important to read these as well as our phonic stuff. So once your child can read these basic words, we've got our CVC words, we've got our CCVC words, we've got some high frequency words in there. Get them then to start reading sentences. And this is where the reading in books comes in. So if you're at home and you're a mum and you haven't got specific books, just write it on a whiteboard. So you could write something like, the cat is on the rug, Sam can run. Sit with your child and get them to read the sentence. Now, what I would do is I would get them to read it. If they're struggling a bit, help them to blend those sounds. Get them then to reread that sentence so that they become more fluent. And then they can comprehend what they're reading. The cat is on the rug. Where is the cat? It's on a rug. Why do you think it might be on a rug? Yeah. So what I would do is make sure that they are then reading in these sentences every day. So getting them just, like I said, if you're at home, getting a whiteboard and thinking about the sounds and the words and the things that you've covered, create sentences for them to read. To be honest, if you are following what I've said, as you are doing the reading process, the writing process naturally comes into play. Because if they know the sound s, or they can read at cat, and they're more likely to be able to spell it as well. So what you could do is you could dictate a sentence and they could write it down and then read it back to you. So you've got a double whammy. You've got them reading and writing and practicing that every day. But limit it to the sounds and the words that you have covered, because success is the key. The more they are able to read the words that they have covered, the more they will feel positive about reading. The worst thing that a teacher or somebody could do is make a child read a book that is too difficult for them, because it tells them they're not a very good reader and then they don't want to read. So what I would suggest is that we read mainly those words that we have covered and those high frequency words. Don't bring in any words that haven't been covered previously. Okay, as I said previously, fluency is the key to comprehension. The quicker the child can read, the more they'll be able to understand. So they won't be labouring over the word. I come across many students where it's still very stilted. And then when it comes to understanding what they've read, they really haven't got a clue, because the process of unravelling those words took over the meaning of the text. And again, that makes children reluctant readers. So it's really important, like I said, if we're doing those sounds, rereading them, practicing them every day so that our fluency builds up. Good thing to do, time your child. What I would do is, if I was doing CVC words, maybe put 10 CVC words on a whiteboard, write them out, time them. How quickly can we read these? The following day, time them again. Have you beat your time? And carry on like that. Children love competition. Okay, so they are the real basics of reading. Once you've got that, the child is on that trajectory of being able to read really successfully. From here, they would move on to reading things like vowel digraphs, which are two vowels together, and polysyllabic words, which are a few syllables in a word. Now, I want to stop here because I think this is just enough for today. These are our basic building blocks. And if you would like to know more, then you can email us. Contact details are there at admin@blueskydyslexia.com. And what we will be doing is our next course will be on moving forward in reading and reading those vowel digraphs and those polysyllabic words, and giving you some ideas on how to help you and your child move forward in that. I hope today's been useful, and I hope I've answered those questions that I set for you at the beginning of this presentation. Many thanks. Bye.